The Trump administration and Harvard University going head-to-head in federal court today over billions of dollars in funding cuts. Lawyers for Harvard argue the cuts are illegal. Attorneys for the government say it's warranted.
To this now, the fate of nearly $2 billion federal dollars hangs in the balance for the most prestigious university in the country. President Donald Trump put Harvard and other Ivy League schools in the administration's crosshairs.
Just days ago, former President Donald Trump took to Truth Social to publicly blast the federal judge overseeing a high-profile case involving Harvard University. And he didn't hold back. In a fiery post that's already being dissected on cable news and across social media, Trump called the judge biased, corrupt, and a disgrace to the bench. He claimed the judge had political motives and was part of a broader conspiracy against conservatives, using the Harvard case as a weapon to push what he called the radical left's agenda. Now, this isn't the first time Trump has gone after a judge, but this case is different. It's tied to affirmative action, racial admissions policies, and the kind of courtroom drama that hits a nerve across the country. Trump's decision to insert himself into the narrative so publicly and so aggressively has sparked a firestorm. So what's really going on here? Why this case? Why now? And could this be part of a larger strategy as Trump eyes 2024? Stay with us as we dive in, because this story goes deeper than headlines, and it might just shape the political battleground in the months ahead. To understand why Trump's lashing out matters, you have to understand the case itself. At the heart of this legal battle is Harvard's admissions policy, specifically how race factors into it. The lawsuit was brought by a group that claims Harvard unfairly discriminates against Asian American applicants in favor of other racial groups to maintain a so-called diverse student body. The issue? It's not just about Harvard. This case is a direct challenge to affirmative action policies across the country. If the plaintiffs win, it could reshape how every major university in America evaluates applicants. We're talking about a possible end to race-conscious admissions, a massive shift with deep cultural, political, and legal consequences. The federal judge Trump's now targeting plays a central role in deciding whether this challenge moves forward. He's not just a referee, he's the gatekeeper to one of the most consequential education rulings in decades. And with the Supreme Court already leaning conservative, every lower court decision matters more than ever. So when Trump picks this fight, it's not just personal, it's strategic. He's speaking to a base that's already skeptical of elite institutions, racial equity policies, and the judiciary itself. The judge presiding over this Harvard case is no rookie. U.S. District Judge Dale Kimball has a long track record, and while he's generally viewed in legal circles as methodical and fair, he's also known for rulings that haven't always aligned with conservative interests. That alone makes him a target for Trump, who's built his political brand on calling out what he sees as judicial overreach or partisan bias, especially when it threatens his agenda or worldview. In Trump's social media post, he accused Judge Kimball of being part of the liberal elite, claiming the judge has shown favoritism to Harvard and has ignored the voices of hard-working Asian American families. He framed it as an attack not just on himself, but on every conservative parent who believes their child is being held back by an unfair system. But there's no evidence that Kimball has done anything improper. Legal experts note that his record reflects standard judicial process. Still, Trump knows how to weaponize perception. By branding the judge as biased, he shifts focus away from the legal arguments and turns it into a culture war headline. And that's where it gets dangerous. Trump's attack didn't sound like a carefully worded legal critique. It sounded like a campaign rally speech on steroids. In his Truth Social post, he called Judge Kimball a disgrace to the bench and claimed the judge was trying to protect the corrupt system at Harvard instead of the Constitution. He even went further, saying the judge was working with Biden's people behind the scenes to maintain what he described as woke academic control. Within hours, cable news ran it on a loop. Legal scholars called it reckless. Former DOJ officials called it intimidation. And once again, Trump's critics raised alarms about undermining judicial independence, a cornerstone of American democracy. But here's what makes it even more explosive. Trump is still the frontrunner for the GOP presidential nomination. His words don't come from a fringe outsider. They come from a man who could very well return to the White House. And he's using his platform to delegitimize a sitting judge in an active federal case. This isn't just about Harvard, it's about power, pressure, and precedent, and the dangerous line between political speech and judicial intimidation. Trump going after judges isn't new, it's a pattern. During his presidency, he publicly attacked judges who ruled against his travel ban, immigration policies, and attempts to overturn the 2020 election. He's used terms like Obama judge, biased, and total disaster to describe those who challenge him. But it's not just personal frustration, it's a calculated strategy. Here's the playbook. By discrediting the referee, Trump makes any unfavorable ruling look illegitimate to his base. If he loses, it's not because his argument failed, it's because the system is rigged. That message resonates deeply with a large portion of his supporters who already distrust the federal government, the courts, and elite institutions like Harvard. But it has consequences. Judges have reported threats, court security has increased, and legal analysts warn that repeated attacks from powerful politicians erode public trust in the judiciary as a neutral arbiter. In the Harvard case, Trump isn't just criticizing a decision, he's framing the entire legal system as corrupt if it doesn't deliver what he wants. And when that message is echoed by millions, it stops being rhetoric and starts becoming reality. The reactions came fast, and they were split right down party lines. Prominent Democrats called Trump's outburst dangerous and un-American. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said it was an assault on judicial independence, while Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called it one more example of Trump treating the law like a personal obstacle course. Meanwhile, the GOP response was more complicated. Some Republican lawmakers remained silent, possibly not wanting to get caught in the blast radius. Others tiptoed around it, saying Trump had a right to express frustration, while stopping short of endorsing the content of his attack. A few, like Senator Josh Hawley, used it as an opening to rail against elitist universities and judicial activism. What's clear is that Trump's grip on the party still holds. Most Republicans are unwilling to directly challenge him, even when he targets federal judges. That silence speaks volumes. But outside Washington, regular voters are watching. Some see it as Trump standing up to a broken system. Others see it as another sign of democratic norms being torn down, one headline at a time. Either way, the political temperature just went up a few more degrees. From a legal perspective, Trump's post raises red flags. Former federal prosecutors say these kinds of public attacks can influence ongoing proceedings, not directly, but through the court of public opinion. It creates pressure, it stirs outrage, and in extreme cases, it can be used by defense teams to argue that a trial isn't fair due to media contamination. Now, in terms of consequences for Trump himself, probably not immediate. He's not a defendant in the Harvard case, so he's unlikely to face legal penalties for lashing out. But experts warn that if this pattern continues, and especially if it crosses into active cases involving Trump personally, like his classified documents trial or January 6 investigations, it could backfire fast. But here's the flip side. Politically, this kind of behavior energizes his base. They love when he says what others won't. They see it as gutsy, not reckless. To them, it's not judicial interference, it's standing up to the swamp. So while legal scholars worry about precedent, Trump is playing a different game altogether. It's not about winning in court, it's about winning the narrative. If you think this was just another Trump rant, think again. Political strategists on both sides are starting to read deeper into moments like this. Because everything Trump says right now, especially on hot butter issues like race, education, and the courts, feeds into a 2024 strategy that's already in motion. By attacking the judge in the Harvard case, Trump isn't just picking a fight, he's choosing his battlefield. This case hits every nerve his campaign thrives on: elite institutions, race-based policy debates, and public distrust in the system. It's red meat for primary voters who feel left behind, shut out, or ignored by the cultural mainstream. And it's not random timing. With GOP debates on the horizon and fundraising emails going out daily, Trump knows exactly how to generate headlines and dominate them. Every post, every insult is part of a broader message. They're not just coming after me, they're coming after you. Whether you see it as genius strategy or dangerous provocation, the effect is the same. He's shaping the national conversation again. And he's doing it by targeting the exact institutions he knows his base already distrusts. Scroll through Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, or just listen at your local diner and you'll hear it. The country is deeply split on Trump's latest outburst. On one side, supporters say he's finally saying what normal people are afraid to say out loud: that the system is rigged, the judges are political, and someone needs to call it out. They're not just defending his words, they're amplifying them. But critics? They're alarmed. Many see this as another dangerous escalation, another step toward undermining trust in the courts, just like the buildup to January 6. They argue that if voters lose faith in the judiciary, then we're not just debating politics anymore. We're threatening the foundations of American democracy. Interestingly, there's also a third group, the fatigued middle. Voters who may not love Trump but are wary of elite institutions. For them, the Harvard case represents something real, a question of fairness, of opportunity. And Trump's bluntness, even if over the top, taps into that skepticism. Whether this moment moves the needle in the polls remains to be seen, but one thing's certain: Trump knows how to trigger the national conversation, and he's betting it'll pay off in 2024. This isn't just a headline, it's a test of how far political speech can go before it starts shaking the legal system, a test of how much pressure judges are expected to take before trust in their rulings begins to erode. And most of all, it's a test of how much influence one man, Donald Trump, still holds over the national conversation. Whether you support him or not, what happened this week matters. It reveals how intertwined politics, media, law, and education have become. And as Trump ramps up his 2024 campaign, expect more moments like this. Targeted, strategic, and divisive by design. So here's the ask. Don't scroll past this. Think about what it means. Talk about it. Ask yourself if we're okay with the way lines are being crossed, and who benefits when they are. Because this case and this moment isn't just about Harvard, it's about power, and where we, as a country, decide to draw the line. Hit that like button if this gave you something to think about, subscribe for more no-fluff breakdowns of the stories that actually matter, and tell us in the comments, do you think Trump crossed a line, or just exposed one?